It starts like that. You might look down at those people like, oh, why do they think they're special that they can switch on a camera and talk or make jokes, right? But realistically, that 10% of them are going to be your Jay Versace's, are going to be your Demetrius's, are going to be all of these kinds of people, your Logan Pauls, your KSI's, right? All of these people are going to be coming from that younger generation. And now, ironically, you can see people actually look at being a YouTuber as a viable career, being a gamer as a viable career, being a social influencer as a viable career, right? Jarvis Mate Podcast or Jarvis Mate Podcast. Yeah. We're still whispering, right? And obviously, if this is your first time watching the show, you might wonder what the hell this is all about. Why would you ever watch a one-man show? But I'll keep it quite brief for you, right? So, Drivers Mate Podcast is a show that's designed based off a reality show that actually exists, which is my real life, right? So, just imagine the Drivers Mate Podcast is what would happen if Truman in the Truman Show decided to make a show while in the Truman Show, so the people that watch the Truman Show will be watching Truman Show. Now, at this point in the podcast, we are at that point in the movie where Truman's like, actually, my brothers are all actors, right? And every time I'm about to leave, right, they come with a beer and they start doing all of these weird things, right? Now, that's at the point we are in this podcast, right? And that's for other reasons outside of what you can physically see. But in my own personal life, right, I'm doing quite a bit of culling, quite a bit of blocking and removal of people, right? Just, your stalkers and watchers and all of that, right? And I know it's odd, right, to hear a man say this, but I just keep it real on this podcast. That's what this podcast is all about. Now, when I say stalkers and watchers, right, in real life, in normal people's lives and influencers and all of that, right, you get people that they just watch you, right? Just imagine, like, if you was walking around in real life, right, and then there's people that just literally watch you while you walk around and they just follow you, right? Do you know how mad that would be? But that is what people do on the internet, right? They hate watch and they watch you to report, they watch you never interact, but they'll always be there on your story, right? I know all of you that watch this or listen to this probably got people like that in your lives as well, right? But my point was this, right? The other day I gave them a fair warning. I said, if you know me in real life, right, and you don't interact with none of my posts and none of my stories and that, I'm going to block you, right? Don't take it personal, you're taking up space, which they are, right? They affect the algorithm by just watching and not interacting. But that aside, right, in the real world of stalkers, right, I know some of you right now are thinking, right, yeah, I'm going to piece together exactly what job he's doing, where he's driving, when and where, right? Do you think I haven't thought about that, right? Do you think I've not thought about the fact that you're watching where I am and how I'm driving, right? Of course I thought about that. And of course I know people at my actual job know about this podcast and watch this podcast and intend to affect it in whatever way they can, right? But I don't care, right? Because I'm the realist, right? And it's Truman Show. What would you expect Truman to do? He's the only real person in the bloody show, right? So there's that, right? And like I was saying, yeah, right now you can see basically where I am, right? If you've just seen that sign, right? Because when this is edited, it's probably not, I'm not going to edit it so I don't show sensitive information. I try my best to protect the company that I work for, but hey, you can only do so much, right? And that's that. But at the same time, I'm sat in traffic, right? I'm moving in very slow traffic. And if it's one thing you can expect as a driver that works in England and Europe, is traffic, right? Road closures, school runs, work runs, like traffic surges out of nowhere, right? Roads that are usually clear at a certain time, they're just blocked, right? We deal with this every single day. Now, with that in mind as well, right, and I know it's a little bit more, I'll give you a little bit of personal spiel, right? Maybe me talking about my things, right, my issues and my idiosyncrasies and all that helps you, right? And you're like, actually, it's not just me going through this, right? I thought it was just me. I was like, why God? You know that Kendrick album is like, why God? Yeah. I was like that, right? So me talking about these things, hopefully it lets you know you're not alone, right? And if you don't experience these things, hey, this is what normal working class people experience, right? If you're not a working class person. And am I really a normal working class person? I sometimes question that myself, like, who am I, right? You know, like Jackie Chan's Who Am I? Who am I? Yeah? But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say now. What was I saying? Traffic and that, wasn't I? Yeah, look, see how I just pop it off the trail, right? But anyway, yeah. In real life, yeah, my personal, that's what I was saying, yeah, my personal, like, real life, right, my workloads are increasing, right? And it's sneaky, right? Like I just said, like in the Truman Show, like when Truman starts getting closer and closer to leaving, right? Everyone starts working harder and harder and harder to keep him there, right? Or to deter him from doing what he needs to do, right? That actually is happening in my personal life, right? And it's entertaining to me to watch it happen in real time, right? Because in the discovery of my personal progression, right? So some people don't care, most people shouldn't care, right? And some people care to hate, right? And some people are like, no, I don't want him to be able to do that. I don't want him to be able to have a voice. If he has a voice, it's dangerous because he might expose this and he might expose that, right? And then all these people don't want me to be able to say the truth about any situations that they may be involved with, right? Which I'm not saying nothing yet, so I would let you know as a warning, right? Be careful what you say and what you do to me moving forward, because I might just expose some of you, right? And the actual truth of the matter and things, right? But I'm not that way inclined yet. So, with that said, as you see, I'm in traffic, right? Like I said, the traffic has kind of gone up a lot in these different places, right? My personal workload at work has just been increased, right? And with no consideration of the amount of hours I already work, how hard I'm already working, the time I start work. I start work before the sun rises, right? I'm out my house at a good time, right? I don't want to be too specific because, you know, like I just said, there's a lot of stalkers and creeps and weirdos and criminals watching these kinds of things, right? Because they prey on individuals like me, but then they forget my past, my history, and what I'm actually capable of doing to somebody like you, right? But I won't say that because I'm a good person, right? I don't wish no harm on anybody. Now, and before, yeah? Anyway, with that said, right, they just increased my personal workload with no consideration for actually how it's going to affect me. All they care about is making money, of course, right? And if they could, they'd probably push, not to diss them, right, but they'd probably push as much workload on me as possible to the point where it's like, yes, we can get this guy to leave, or we can get this guy to give up, right? And if it's one thing about me, I'm so determined, so ambitious, so strong, so disciplined, I don't quit, right? When it's time for me to leave, I leave of my own accord, right? I never quit, I never give in, I never whine, and I never complain. So with all that said, right, which you could consider is whining and complaining, I just wanted to kind of update you a bit on the podcast of my own life, right? And now to a lighter side of my own life, right? I know I sounded a bit like, whoa, it was me, conspiracy theory, these people are trying to block me, right? But if you know, you know, innit? That's what I can tell you, innit? I'm a guy that's walking a very independent life, right? Independent of friends, independent of societies and other kind of things, right? I just cut through the world on my ones, I do my thing, right? And if you ever see what I do and how I do it, right, you might be like, how is he able to do that on his own, right? And then that's where you might say, who is his God, right? What is his religion, right? What is his secret, right? And then none of that really matters. It's all just nonsense, right? On the lighter side of it, who is his God? That's funny, isn't it? On the lighter side of it, right, you might notice I'm kind of sloppy-ish and a bit lethargic with my speech and that, right? It's because I'm working late hours, right? And I'm not only when I finish work, I have to attend to my personal life after work, right? And that takes time, so it brings me quite late into the night. And like I said, I have to be up quite early, right? But anyway, that side. Yesterday, I trained legs, right? So you know, after you train legs, any day after you train legs with gym, right, you're gonna be more tired. If you train legs and back, like big movement muscles, right? When you train them fairly decently, like not all out, because I can't train all out anymore because of work, right? Yeah, so that's another hindrance, right? But I like I said, in ambitions and sacrifices, I sacrifice and I give and I take, right? I'm doing my part on the small scale in the economy, and the economy is doing its small part to play in my life in terms of capitalism, right? And I appreciate my job. I appreciate the things that I may take for granted, right? And other people be sat there like, why are you whining? You got all of this opportunity, you're a young man, right? And you're right? I'll take that on board, right? Anyway, I trained legs, right? So if you know anything about the gym and that, you know legs take quite a bit of energy from you, right? So the next day, in the next couple of days, you get DOMs. What are DOMs if you're not gym inclined? They're delayed onset muscle soreness, right? So you know, if you're a first time gymmer or something like that, you might go to the gym once your first time, and you try to do as much as you can, right? And do things that look like they're gonna actually elevate you and whatnot. And what ends up happening is you damage your muscles, right? And when you damage your muscles, which you're supposed to do in bodybuilding, right? Damage your muscles, you break them down, and they repair stronger. But if you're not careful as a beginner, your delayed onset muscle soreness can last for a very long time, and it can potentially deter you from coming back to the gym, like a lot of people, like it happens to a lot of people. But this in particular, it's different for different people, right? Not everyone experiences DOMS, and even professionals or people who have been at it a long time still get DOMS, right? Because some people say your soreness is a sign of working hard, but it's not scientifically proven, right? You can build muscle, right? Like people like Mike Mensa will explain the shorter methodologies, and your Dorian Yateses and all of that. They will tell you high intensity and short amounts, right? Yes, you can build muscle without feeling that soreness and that pain. But even the Dorian Yates and Mike Mensa, they were proponents of really pushing yourself to the limit on the days you do train, right? So they probably would have experienced soreness. Like I said, it's an individual thing, right? Not everyone experiences that soreness. But yeah, that's what I'm dealing with now, right? And you may have noticed, right, although I've got my hoodie on, and it's like one of those hoodies that puff up on the belly, right? I have a fairly okay, I'm not even going to say decent, right? I have an okay physique, right? Like in comparison to your normal dad bod guy, right? I have a fairly decent physique, but I've kind of got sloppy in the past year or so, maybe 2 years, right? And I haven't been consistent with my training. I don't even have a gym membership anymore, right? So when I say I train, I just use dumbbells and barbells at home, right? So yeah, keeping it really flat and just doing enough to keep my bone density and a little bit of muscle up, right? I know it sounds probably a bit too much information for you, right? But yeah, the boy's getting fluffy, right? Man's getting fat and all that, right? And you know what? In the fitness industry, it's like, yeah, bulk, bro, bulking, bro. Yeah, I'm bulking, bro, right? Yeah, I've done dirty bulks before, right? And I've got massive puffy faces, right? And I'm not a massive guy, right? I'm definitely not even that tall and all of that, right? But I've got up there in weight, right? And it wasn't all muscle, most of it was fat, right? And I'm getting kind of back into that now, right? So yeah, I've done a dirty bulk before, and I just ate whatever I want, right? And just got fat too quick, right? But I've also done like intermediate bulks and cuts, right? I've never been really good at my diet side. I try, but I'm not that good at it, right? In all honesty, I'm not that good at dieting, right? But now I'm on that kind of incline, yeah. Autumn's here, so it's hoodie season, right? If you know about hoodie season, back in the day, right? Like Uncle Murder and all that, right? If you listen to them kind of rappers like D-Block and all of that, and Styles P and them, man, you know about hoodie season, right? Hoodie season, even though I'm a man that wears a hoodie all fucking year round, right? Even when I'm at my most cut, trim, like cut proper hench, right? I'll still wear a hoodie, right? You won't even get to see my body. Sometimes I'll be like, what's the point in having abs and all of these cuts and shit if you never show them, right? And I'm just that way inclined, right? Maybe that's like an emo mental health thing of mine, right? I don't want to show my body dysmorphia, like I want to be in a hoodie all blacked off. Just leave me alone, right? I'm that way inclined sometimes, right? Most of the time, right? But yeah, it is hoodie season. So if you know about them man and them tunes, right, you know what that means. When a man says it's hoodie season, yeah, you know what time it is. So not only is it hoodie season for like the street culture and the street wear culture, it's also hoodie season for the gym man, right? Because it's time to bulk, right? And I don't know, in a couple of months, right, the gym's going to be full of newbies and it's just going to be annoying, right? But this little run now that summer's kind of come to its close in October and that, right? This is where the bulk begins, right? And this is your opportunity, like a bear would have ate all of that food, right, to go and hibernate, right? This will be your opportunity to put on that extra fluff, the extra fat, layers of fat to build more muscle and size and strength, right? This is what we call the bulking season, right? So yeah, that's my excuse, right? Let's just say that. That's my excuse for getting a bit fatter in this time during the colder months of the year, right? And hopefully I actually gain some size and do what I can do with that, right? But another thing, right? The impact of a hoodie on its own, right? People take it for granted, right? Now there's what a hoodie was invented for, I'm not quite sure, right? But hoodies are streetwear and sportswear, right? They started, to my knowledge, as sportswear, right? And for terrain wear, because it's a hood that covers your head. And it's not to say in the olden days we didn't have cloaks and ponchos and things to that nature, right? That cover your head, right? But yeah, in modern days, right, we look at tracksuits as something that's associated with sports, right? I don't know when it happened, maybe the 70s, 60s, I don't know, right? But we look at tracksuits and hoodies as something associated with sports and now street culture, right? But the power of a hoodie is incredible, right? So you've got the bad side of what a hoodie represents when you get your Trayvon Martins and all of that, right? And how people perceive, especially young black people, young black men in hoodies, and even white men, right, in hoodies, right? Because it's not very talked about, especially in America. You know, like you see in the film sometimes, right? And like, for instance, the Unabomber, right? The Unabomber's disguise was a hoodie, a hat, and a pair of glasses, right? What kind of fucking disguise is that, right? You see, like in films, white people just put on a pair of glasses and a hat, and then they're just in a disguise, right? It's like, what kind of nonsense is that? I can clearly see it's you, right? But maybe they in their world, right? That's like, it's not only a taboo to wear a hoodie. And I don't know, right? I'm just speaking at a very surface level, right? But maybe they're just so NPC that the fact that they put on a pair of glasses and a hood or a hat literally takes them into the background of the NPCs, right? Maybe that is the case, right? I don't know. But like I said, there's the bad connotations with hoodies, with your criminals, and then your innocent young boys like Trayvon Martin and all that being treated a certain way because of what they're wearing, right? But then there's also the incredible fashion industry and the power of a hoodie. Now I'm going to give you an example, right? I think this guy's name is Demetrius or something like that. I'm not sure, but in the early 2010s, we knew him from doing like memes, right, and like vines and stuff, right? There's one black guy and one American guy, right? I don't know if he's straight, gay, whatever he is, right? He's probably in that weird mixture of people, right? No disrespect to you lot, but you know why I'm squinting my eyes up like that? Because some people are like, they're into all of that weird pronoun, gender, politics stuff, right? I don't know. I don't even know if this guy is, but he gives them vibes, right? With all due respect. But anyway, I'm still bigging him up, right? The power of a hoodie, which he done, right? He decided at some point, right? I can't remember when it was. He's gonna make these hoodies that say "You Matter," right? And I've seen just recently, right? I've been seeing them for years, right, online. But I'm just using him as an example, right? There's other people that have done this, right? You got to big up your Ben Jars, your Trap Stars, right? All of them kind of man from our side of the pond, right? That have done a similar thing, right? That really elevated these Hood Rich, all of these man, right? They even Bugsy Malone, right? You got to big up Bugsy Malone and his 1-2 things in JD Sports and all of that, yeah? All of these people have done interesting things with clothing brands, right? Not to get to your Virgil's Off-White level, because that's maybe a lot later down the line for all of these people, right? But Kanye did that too, actually, as well, with the hoodies, right? But this Dimitri guy, I think his name is, right? The You Matter hoodies, right? And it's a very simple concept, right? It's a very simple slogan, You Matter, right? And he did it from a mental health place, right? To say, like, you know, some people, sometimes it's kind of for show or like performative to say something like that. Oh, you matter, right? Your mental health matters. Some people actually care and some people don't, right? And I don't know where he stands in that matter, because although I'm not yet in that arena where I can affect good change properly, right? I am a proponent for good mental health, right? Because I've had my own mental health struggles in the past, and we'll talk about that later at some point, right? But I'm quite serious about that, right? I don't like it to be joked about. I don't like people taking it lightly, right? Because you got to understand it like this. There's an old saying: if we're all in a circle, right, and all of us can take off our problems and throw them down in this circle, right, and then pick up someone else's problems, you'd want your problems back, right? Because you do not know what that guy's dealing with, right? Your problems may seem massive, but his problems might be way worse than yours, right? And it's all about perception and experience, right? And to understand that, you gotta learn a bit of psychology, a bit of Zen wisdom, a bit of like stoicism, a bit of philosophy, a little social politics, to really understand how you fit into the grand scheme and how you operate as a human being, right? But that's all encompassing in the mental health world, right? So I kind of do take that seriously, and I study for my own benefit and all of that, right? But anyway, the slogan "You Matter" is something that he created as a hoodie, right? It's just a simple hoodie Just like a print-on-demand hoodie, right? It's probably started out exactly like that, right? But at this point in time, I've just seen recently, the guy is now taking his brand to another level, right? And he's doing pop-up shops, right? So what's a pop-up shop? You know, like sometimes on your high streets and your villages and stuff like that, your artsy places, you see like an empty kind of stall, like an empty shop front, right? And every now and again, you get like a shop that doesn't stay there for long. They just pop up. They have art sometimes, they have music, they have barber shop there, whatever, right? In that space, right? But that is what this guy has done right now. And to me, I rate that, right? I really respect it. And I rate the smaller brands that go under the radar, that do it too, that don't get that push. Like I'm saying this guy, but because he's visual on my timeline, I'm using him as an example, right? The power of that niching down onto one thing, a hoodie, right? Something that people look at as with negative connotations, something people look at with sports connotations, and now something people look at with political, social, economical, like viral exchange of information and data, right? A hoodie. And he's done that and made a big brand, right? So that's just a nod to that guy, and to say to you guys, right? If there's something out, if you're somebody out there that wants to do something like that, it's possible, right? So don't give up, right? Just learn, study, invest, practice, get your marketing, do everything you got to do, right? As much as you can to the best of your ability. And I'm sure if you can't sell one, at least, well, if you can't sell 100, you can sell one at least, right? You know what I'm saying? So if you're that way inclined, good luck to you, right? Hats off to you. If you need a bit of help, I might be able to help you, right? But yeah, big up to that guy, right? That's the power of focusing on one thing. And like again, we said in Prince of Pop, right? We're translating this success, this fame, this virality over here into a real business, right? Like how artists do it. Now he came up in the memes, like in the Vines and that, right? And another person I really love like that, right? And it's kind of strange because I've had interactions with this person in different times, right? And just banter and just appreciating their music and all that kind of stuff. But if you might be aware of a guy called Jay Versace, right? And you may not know that name, but if I showed you a meme of this guy, right, you would know that guy straight away, right? He was a little black kid in the early 2010s, right? And he done loads of vines, loads of memes, all of that shit, right? And he was just like a meme guy, right? An internet guy, right? A clout. People bullied this kid, right? And he went through all kinds of mental health issues because of his visibility online. But nevertheless, right? He's not really a bad guy, right? I don't think he's actually done anything bad. He just made memes, right? And vines, right? So, at some point in time, I don't know if he had always been interested in music or whatever, but I found him on SoundCloud in maybe 2019, 2020, right? So this is quite early, right? Maybe not early, right? I don't know how long he's been doing this, but he's still a young kid, right? Basically, he translated that memification, right, and that virality, right, and being able to be in these like social networking situations in America or Hollywood or wherever the hell they're located, right? But he leveraged that meme ability into his love and passion for music. Now, not to say he didn't work hard on music, because he does clearly, right? But he works hard on music, but he got his platform from the memes and the vines, right? Now, in my opinion, him doing that is very intelligent, right? And not only did he translate into music, he's now one of the more sought after producers in that R&B female kind of rap genre, right? He produced a lot of stuff for SZA, produced a lot of stuff for Summer Walker, right? And he got to that position. Well, he obviously networked and he did some talking and he did some producing and making of music, but he got that propulsion, that visibility from the memification of himself, right? The virality of the things he did as a kid, right? So that's another example there. If you're someone out there that's looking at people that do TikToks and social media stuff, like, what are these guys on, bruv? These lot are just waste men, right? But, yeah, 90% of them are just waste men and they do it for attention, right? But that 10% could be you, right? 10% could be your cousins, your nephews, right? Your family, your friends, right? It starts as a simple meme page, right? Jokes. It starts as a, you know what I mean, just messing about on the internet, because kids that grew up with social media just saw it as fun, right? Like we did. We was kind of already progressing into college and into teen years when social media moved from Facebook to Instagram and Twitter and that, right? Of course. But the kids under us, they were born into that. It already existed, right? So for them, it was just another toy to play with. So yeah, it starts like that. You might look down at those people like, oh, why do they think they're special that they can switch on a camera and talk or make jokes, right? But realistically, that 10% of them are going to be your Jay Versace's, are going to be your Demetrius's, are going to be all of these kinds of people, your Logan Pauls, your KSI's, right? All of these people are going to be coming from that younger generation. And now, ironically, you can see people actually look at being a YouTuber as a viable career, being a gamer as a viable career, being a social influencer as a viable career, right? And when we were kids, that didn't even exist. That wasn't even a possibility, right? So you might be someone a bit older and looking down on it like, whoa, what is that, right? But it's a thing, right? And it can affect serious change. And you can build businesses and brands and creative ventures off of the back of it, like these two kids have, right? So there's that, right? The power of that virality and that memification and jokes and stuff being able to transfer, right? A lot of comedians now are like that as well, right? They come from that space. Excuse me one second. Start frothing at the mouth, right? Sort of coffee, right? Anyway, yeah. That is important. That's important. That I explain that to you, right? So you can go from there into whatever field you want to go to. If you're willing to start something over here, the power of transitioning, like we spoke about in the Lemon Drizzy and a Cup of Joe episode, right? Although Drake looked down on Joe Budden for being like, hey, I'm gonna go do podcasting, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's a leverage of your opportunities and actually taking advantage and not being stuck in one thing, right? Typecast for the rest of your life, right? Those kids understood transitioning from memification into the arts, right? Into fashion, into music, right? Into YouTube and boxing and gaming and all of these things, right? Some of those big YouTubers just started with a Minecraft channel, right? So the future looks different to what our options were as kids, right? We didn't know any of this was going to be a possibility, right? So don't look down on them. Now, with all my spiel out of the way, right? Let's get into a little bit of reaction. What have we got, right? And I can also have a bloody coffee, right? I talk so much, my mouth dry up, right?
Well, the women decide that, oh, I'm working 18 hours a day, flat out, all the time, 7 days a week. My husband makes a fair bit of money. If I made half as much money as I made, we'd still have plenty of money. Why am I working 18 hours a day? Well, that's not the question. The question is, why would anyone work 18 hours a day? That's the mystery. And the answer is, a small minority of men are driven to do that. And so they'll do that, no matter where you put these guys. That's what they do.
Yes.
Okay, but does that mean it's correct? I think there's something wrong with these women. They hit 30. They've hit partner. They've hit the pinnacle. I mean, they could keep going if they wanted to, but they've accomplished their goal. They've definitely shown, man, they're bloody well in the game. And they wake up at 30 and they think, oh, wait a minute. I want to have a relationship, and also I want to have some time to put into that. I'd like to have kids, and I'd actually like to see my kids. It's like, is that irrational?
No shit.
The women decide that, oh,
so right, that was...
I'm working 18 hours a day.
Stop it, man!
Flat out, all the time.
God
7 days
damn! Yeah, anyway. Stop it, man! That was funny. That gave me Chris Tucker Lee vibes. Come on, Lee! Anyway, forget that. Just forget I even made that joke, right? Because that's corny. And I am corny sometimes. I don't really care, right? I love me. You should love me like you love yourself, right? You should love yourself more than you love me. Anyway, neither here nor there. That was Jordan Peterson, right? I don't know what... I've basically forgotten what he was saying now, right? But anyway, so what did he say? He said about working 18 hours, like, why does anyone want to do that? And at the same time, there's very driven men that work 18 hours no matter where you put them. Me, yeah, like I was saying earlier on, yeah, the more workload they're giving me now, flip it out, right? But it don't stop, right? Anyway, and then he's also saying about women not wanting to do that, right? And deciding at 30 that they've put in their work in their careers and whatever, and they want to decide to settle down, right? So where the hell do I start? Because that is such a big chunk of information to even digest, right? So let's start with the 18-hour work day, yeah? That's not your standard work day, of course not, right? But from from a, like I said, from an ambitious perspective, right? I know you think working for a boss, working for a job is long and hard, right? But when you work for yourself, there's no cut-off time, right? And I've always done entrepreneurial ventures on the side of whatever else I was doing, whether it be school or work or whatever, right? Always will, right? When you work for yourself, there's no time limit. There's no boss to say home time, right? Lunchtime, break time, right? There's none of that, right? There is longer than 18-hour work days nearly every day, right? Like I said, it's a busy, demanding life, right? But you know why you do it, right? You sacrifice all these other things. You sacrifice your relationships. Like a lot of women will understand that as well. Career-minded women, educated women, right? That are really serious about their life, right? And likely had dads and all of that, right? No disrespect, but you get it. You get it, right? If I have a daughter, I'll be on the same thing, right? You've got to go to school, you've got to get your mind right, you've got to do a business, you've got to do all of that before you worry about making some man kids, right? And that's neither here nor there. That's very manosphere and red pill kind of minded to talk, right? But women can do whatever the hell they want, right? No due respect. Anyway, with the 18-hour thing, right? Yes, of course. If you're dedicated, determined brother, right? And like Kevin Samuels would have said, at a certain age, you got to be working at least 60 hours a week. Now, I've had weeks where I've worked way over 60 hours, right? And I've had weeks where I've worked 4 jobs in a week, right? Plus my own interests, right? Now, I've had those months, those periods of life where I'm all in, right? And they're the periods of life where you're like a freelancer, right? You go and work over here, you work for that person there, and you make your own schedule, right? I've lived that life, and it's very hectic. You make a lot of money, but at the same time, there's not a lot of grounding schedule, right? There's not a lot of. It's like you don't know where your meal's coming from the next day, and it gives you hunger and a drive. But obviously, you've got money saved, and you know where your meal's actually coming from. But yeah, when you're a freelancer and you work for different people and you work on your own stuff, yeah, you do over 60-hour weeks all the time, right? And it's nothing, right? It's really nothing to a grafter, right? And it's really nothing to someone like me who just doesn't have a social life, right? Who just doesn't care. To a man like me, you might look at me like an Eastern European or an African or a Jamaican, right? Or 20 jobs, right? You might look at me like one of those kinds of people. I don't care. I'm going to come and graft, and I'm going to put in the work. And then, what, you want to give me more work? Cool. Are you going to pay me? Are you going to compensate me for my hours, right? Cool. Yeah, then I'll take the work and I'll do it, right? Because I know what my youth is for, right? My youth is for building that foundation, right? Like Kevin Samuels would say. So me personally, yeah, I'll bang out an 18-hour day and I don't care, right? But I understand from what he's saying from a woman's perspective, like Jordan Peterson understands a woman's perspective, or me, right? But yeah, I'm sure at some point when women start to realise, I don't know if it's actually true or if it's just like manosphere talking points, that they're going to hit a wall, like a quote-unquote wall, where men ain't going to find them as attractive as they did in their early 20s, right? And they're not going to be able to produce babies and stuff as easily and all that. I don't know if it's true. It might be true, right? But at 30 is usually when, let's say, more serious women get more serious, right? Because there are a lot of jokers in the female gender as there are men, right? People that just willy-nilly fucked off their life young and done all kind of stupid shit, right? Had kids too early with the wrong people, never financially set up. All of these kind of things exist, right? And everyone has their own story, their own reasons, right? I'm not giving excuses, not promoting either way, right? But yeah, at some point, of course, a serious business-minded career woman, right, who doesn't want to end up being some rich, successful CEO woman, but with no kids, no family, no one to actually love her, right? No man, you know what I mean? No one that's actually going to be there for her emotionally, right? She can't really share her successes with her friends because they're all off family making while she's just rich with Louis Vuittons, red bottoms, and you name it. She can do whatever she wants, but she's lonely, right? We all know women like this, right? And they're sexy, they're lovely, we love them, right? But at the same time, we understand where they're coming from, right? If they want a man like you, they want you for your dick, and that's it, really. Because what can you offer them, right? Do you understand? So there's a fine line between that and family building, right? So yeah, most women ain't gonna want to be carrying on that hard-working, grafter's mind at a certain age, right? It's time to settle down, it's time to nest, it's time to build a family, get married, and all of that, right? Men too, right? Men want that too. So yeah, there's that. Now, what was the other part of what he was saying, right? I think that was kind of what he was saying about the woman hitting the wall bit, right? But that is kind of propaganda in reality, like I've just kind of said. We look at that like the devil wears Prada kind of CEOs and stuff like that, but are they really like that, right? Are your judges, your barristers, like your accountants, your housing people, all of these kinds of professional women, are they really like that? And can you really say 90% of them would rather not do 18-hour days and settle down? Of course, a lot of women online, but like I said, these serious business-minded women, they ain't got time to be tweeting and Instagramming and TikToking their life and talking about they want soft girl life, right? They're creating their own soft girl life. They don't care about what the social media is doing, right? They look at a lot of them women as little girls to them, right? No, I'm saying this from the perspective of a man that's met these kind of women, right? Not sexually. I'm not saying I'm no Casanova and all that. I'm not, right? So don't look at me with that side eye like, oh, what are you into, right? And I'm just saying, right? I've met them in my walk of life, right? I understand where they're coming from, right? Serious business women that don't take no shit, right? They don't care about them youngers thinking like they need a man to do this and provide that or this and that, right? They got their own houses, their own cars. They can buy what they want whenever they want, right? And if they want a man, they can literally just rent a man out for the weekend, right? That's how them women move, right? But yeah, I don't think that's all women. Where Jordan Peterson says it like it's all women want to settle down at 30. No, they don't, right? Because just like men, they're grafters as well, right? And more you're seeing women out in the field doing manual labour jobs as well as administration and teaching and technician jobs, right? So we're kind of getting there as a society, but it's kind of evening out, right? Which is good, right? Because that is what you want. But at the same time, right, I would say be aware, right, that you're not being overworked and you're not being taken advantage of at the same time when you're putting in these crazy amounts of hours, right? Is the pay worth the hours, right? Can you use that time for something better, right? Would that time be better served on your health, your family, right? Your own business, your own creative ideas, right? Is it worth selling the hour for whatever amount they're going to pay you for, right? Is it worth that? Is the stress worth that, right? Because once you get a certain amount of money, or even if you don't, even if you just start out with a perspective of, hey, I know what's what, right? You're not going to make me work over the amount that I need, right, just to get what I want, right? I'm not going to do it, right? If you come from that perspective, fine, right? But you also get to a point with money, right, and what's in your bank, you're like, actually, I don't give a fuck what you say to me, mate, right? I've not got millionaire fuck you money, but I've got thousandaire fuck you money. Like, I don't need this job, right? I don't need this stress. I don't need to be here. I can fuck off and I'm not work for a year if I want to, right? Most people get to that level quite early in life. And it's like, actually, it's not worth the time, right? It's not worth the stress. So just be careful. If you are going to take that 18-hour stress on, like that 60-hour week stress, make sure it's worth it, right? Make sure it's for a limited period of time, right? Because you can't burn yourself out, right? It has knock-on effects in your relationships, and most importantly, your physical and mental health, right? That shit is taxing. It's very taxing, right? And you need to have holidays. And like, you see in Japan, right, they have this thing called the corporate man, right, or a salary man, right? And it's basically a lot of these guys, we see them in suits and that, and they work so fucking hard, right, for their corporations. Their corporations don't give a good goddamn about them, right? And especially in terms of their health, their mental health, and their relationships, right? In Japan and Asia, right, is a very big, serious problem right now with their matchmaking and their relationships and the working, what it costs to survive and live, right? In Asia in general, right? And Asia is very not overpopulated, because who are you to say a place is overpopulated? It's none of your fucking business, right? You don't get to decide how many people are on Earth, right? But from a statistical point of view, Asia is one of the fastest growing continents in terms of population, right? So it's very not crowded, but it's very much populated, right? So yeah, they have that issue, but the salary man thing is a real thing, right? People working their life away, right? Literally working their life away. Nothing exists for them outside of going to work, right? And what for? What is it for, right? You got to be careful you don't end up like that, right? And be abused by these corporations and these companies. Just treated like a chief, right? Because yeah, there might be a time in your life when you do that. But like I said, you accumulate that fuck you money, then your actions and the way you move through life really does affect everything that you get involved with from that point on, right? So I don't give a fuck, man. I don't need this money, man. I don't need the stress. I've got enough, right? And then it's just like that. They can't have you like a salary man, right? You know, actually, if I'm gonna stay here and do the extra workload, I'm gonna get this out of it, right? And it's not gonna be what you want me to get out of it. It's gonna be what I want out of it, right? That's the kind of mindset you need to have when it comes to work and overworking, right? But yeah, man, I think probably I've chewed your ear off more than enough. But it is important to be ambitious in life, right? And not just be settling for the basics, right? The simple life is cool, right? Now I'll give you a little personal anecdote. I'm a kid that was born in a town, right? And raised in an estate. So I lived in an estate, and more than one estate, right? My parents moved about quite a bit, right? Because of poverty, right? In all honesty, because of poverty, right? But at one point in life, oh wow, that's a crash. Fucking hell, look, a truck's hitting Mini. Jesus Christ. He's in the second lane as well. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Okay, right there. The driver's out anyway. The driver's okay. Okay, that's cool. Jesus Christ, that's crazy, man. But yeah, anyway. At one point in life, right, I moved from a town to a countryside area, right? And you could call that the simple life, but looking back on it now, although it kept me out of trouble and all of these things, and I had time to do creative ventures, right, I fucking hate it, right? And that's probably the reason why I don't have a social life now, right? And I'm not entrenched in the culture like I once was, right? Because I'm separate, I'm set apart, right? And around all of these, like, I was going to call them country bumpkins, right? But they're like just conservative, rich white people that never grew up in that same environment that I did, right? So it's like, we don't really have anything in common except from our kind of sometimes, right? But you don't understand what it is to be where I'm from, and I don't understand what it is to be where you're from, right? And just honest like that, right? So yeah, what was I saying now? That crash really threw me off a little bit, right? Yeah, it's real life, real people. But anyway, you must be ambitious, right? No matter where you're placed in life, but just be careful, right? It runs its own risks. Success has its own risks and sacrifices, as much as being complacent and living a simple life. That's what I'm saying, right? The simple life isn't for everybody, right? Me personally, once I'm ready, I'm fucking off into a city, right? A densely populated one at that, right? Because it costs a lot to exist there, and that's where I'm going to be, right? Because I want to be in the mix. I want to do creative ventures and interesting stuff, meet people like me and other people, right? That's what they aim is, right? Ooh, look, he's giving away his plans to the stalkers from the beginning, like, yes, that's what we're going to stop him from doing. Actually, you can't, right? Because things are already set in motion that you'll never be able to stop, right? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Look at what I'm saying from this perspective, right? Just like we said in Lemon, Drizzy and a Cup of Joe, right? To transition, to take a menial task, right? A simple thing like driving, scale it up to its peak and then move on to the next thing, right? That is what a person like me and you, an ambitious, a willing to work 18-hour person will do, right? And the people will be like, he's cheating, he's doing something wrong, right? And they're overlooking all of that fucking hard work, those extra grafting hours that they didn't see, right? They're gonna be the same people that where they are 10 years moaning and saying, how is he there, right? How is he there, right? They're them people, right? They're your stalkers and your weirdos that watch and never comment. And then one day they're like, what the fuck? How did that happen? That's not fair, right? They're them people, right? But me and you both know we're going to work hard. Regardless where you place us, what you take away from us, what you give us, doesn't matter. We'll spin our own advantages from the cards we're dealt in life. And that is what it means to be optimistic, right? In its true sense, right? Just like the Little Drivers Mate podcast that started out with just a man giving you soliloquies and little methodologies and philosophies on how to move through life and get ahead quicker, turned into a YouTube channel. Then it turned into a Patreon channel. Then it turned into a Spotify channel, right? Yeah, there's no telling what might happen, right? If you're willing to work, right? Like I said, there's no boss in the Drivers Mate podcast, right? There's just a guy. So who says when it's time to take a break? Who says when it's time to rest and go to sleep early? No one does, right? I do, right? I'm the boss of me, right? Even though I have a boss at work, I'm still the boss of me, right? Now, with all due respect, if he watches this, he might be like, I'm going to give him the hardest treatment I can give him, right? And to that, I'd say, do what the fuck you want to do, because at the end of the day, I've got fuck you money as well, right? Yeah. So there's that. With all due respect. But at the same time, even my boss understands. No one is his boss, even though he has a boss, right? He decides how much work he's going to put in. At the end of the day, when he's about to go to sleep at night and he checks his phone and says, actually, I want my accounts to be a bit bigger, right? So I'm going to work a bit harder, right? It's the same thing with me, right? It goes up and up and up, down and down and down, right? So with that in mind, Drivers Make podcasts, right? And if this was your first time watching this, don't judge the whole podcast of these episodes, right? Or this episode, right? Just explore, right? Have a little look about, have a little listen, right? See if you like what I'm saying. But there's more entertaining episodes than this, right? Now, like I said, if this is your first time, you know you can reach me on social media, Drivers Make Podcast, or Drivers Make Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, right? YouTube is Drivers Mate, and YouTube also is CNCCMI, right? That's my main YouTube channel, right? Where the creative ventures happen, the music stuff happens, the technology and yeah, just good stuff happens on CNCCMI, right? My personal Instagram is Some English Kid, yeah, and at CNCCMI, right? My personal TikTok is SetWest10. My personal Twitter is Athens Elder, right? Don't ask me why it's Athens Elder. It's an anagram of my real name, right? And if you're a stalker patty, jeez, right? If you know about Opie and Anthony, you know about stalker patty, right? If you're a stalker patty, you already know who I am, where I am, when I am, right? And you should, right? Because you ain't got a life anyway, so you should know. But anyway, if you're just a normal person like me, right, you can reach me on any of those places, right? I hope you don't become a stalker patty, right? And if you don't know who stalker patty is, do your Googles, right? One day, actually, I think we'll have a whole episode talking about my love for Patrice O'Neill, Opie and Anthony, and that whole era of radio, right? And that real shock jock Howard Stern fuck you shit, right? That real, actually, although we're corporate, we're gonna say some shit that's gonna change the world, right? That shit, right? One day we'll do a little bit of that, right? And we'll talk about Stalker Patty and all of them weirdos, right? We'll talk a bit more about Bill Burr and Patrice O'Neill, right? We just love these guys, right? And flipping, forget the guy's name, man. Oh no, right? Jim Norton, right? Creepy Jim Norton, right? We're talking about all of that, right? If you know, you know. That's all I can say, right? The early 2000s, I didn't get to experience it at the time when it happened because, hey, I was just a little kid in high school, right? So, well, in the 2010s anyway, right? Anyway, you don't really care. But, you don't really care, right? Anyway, so yeah. We'll go into that one day, right? And I'll explain the contrast between English radio, right? And like, the syndicated same messaging that happened with radio and music business, and then we'll talk about that, right? We'll really talk about that. That's why podcasting is so important now, right? Independent voices that aren't all syndicated doing the same messaging and the same politics, right? I know I've actually been to BBC Radio, right? I've been in the studios, I've met some of the presenters, right? I've seen what it's like in there, right? Although they're paid very well, they are rich slaves, isn't it? They can't be themselves and they can't tell you the truth. They just can't, right? They've got corporate jobs, right? And I understand that. But if those guys really go and really take their journalism seriously, their radio presenters and stuff seriously, and then they don't care about losing TV opportunities and all of the package stuff, right? They can really do some great things, right? And make some real change outside of it, right? In the YouTube world and the podcasting world and all of that, right? But it all depends, right? Are them guys really willing to step away from their salaries, right? I don't think they are, right? And I don't think they give a fuck of what a person like me thinks anyway, because they're getting paid and I'm getting paid, so who gives a fuck, right? But you might not have known all of that, right? So now you do, right? God, my lips been dry this episode, ain't they, right? I've been licking up my lips there, mumba glad. I was about to throw someone under the bus and You know exactly who I thought of then, innit? I know. Actually, I'm gonna do it, right? But fucking, that was moving like LL Cool J, right? Innit? Anyway, fucking, love you, LL Cool J, right? It's just a joke, right? Don't do me like a cannabis, right? It's just a joke. I'm not gonna take the microphone from you. I'm not gonna do anything like that, right? We love and respect you, LL Cool J, right? But yeah, you do lick your lips a lot, innit? With all due respect. Anyway, you see, I always bring these disrespectful jokes at the end of the podcast because I just want to lift you up, right? And I love and respect to LL Cool J, right? Ladies love Cool J, right? Respect to that guy, right? But yeah, it must have been dry because I'm running my mouth and I'm not properly hydrated, I haven't slept properly, and I've got DOMs and all of that, right? So yeah, this is real people, real stuff, right? The Truman Show, right? And if you're up on your game on who I am as an individual, I would ask you, what act do you think this is? But anyway, love and respect, right? I hope you're getting the work done because you're a normal person like me and you're not bloody Jordan Peterson and you're not Kanye, you're not fucking Drake, you're not LL Cool J, right? We're just normal working class people, right? I hope you're getting the work done, and I hope you actually do consider what I said about the power of niching down on one thing and also the power of transitioning later, right? Do something with your life, right? Who the fuck am I to tell you what to do, right? But I'm just saying, don't get caught stuck just being a slave, right? And being bossed around by some idiots that don't know how to respect people once you give them a little bit of power, right? Don't become that, right? Because they're the people that pass on that same cycle of abuse and trauma and just make working harder than it needs to be, right? Be a business owner, a business creator, an idea man in the world, right? You do something, right? Not everyone can do that, not every man and woman can do that, but I know you can, right? That's why you're even in this hemisphere, in this stratosphere of drivers mate stuff, right? I know you can, right? I know you're creative, I know you're smart, I know you're intelligent, right? See how the sun just busts and shine? That sun's for me and it's for you, right? That's God. If you believe in God, that's letting you know, yes sir, yes son, you can do it, right? Yes daughter, you can do it, right? So come on, let's get in, right? And I hope you have a good week. I hope you're enjoying your life. Please smile, don't take this shit too seriously. It's jokes and banter and all of that, but yes, just know as an individual you can do great, amazing things, man. And what's going to happen when the Truman boat hits the painting? We all want to know, like, what the fuck, right? Never mind about that, right? The time will come, right? All shall be revealed, right? Love and respect. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a good day. And I said it already, I say it again. Drivers Mate Podcast. Drivers Mate Podcast. Stop fucking with Truman, man. Leave the guy alone. See you later. Drivers Mate Podcast. Truman Show. A real man in a real van in his real life in a reality show, speaking about things he really shouldn't be speaking about. What do you expect? Because it's the only real person in the show. Season 3 now available on Spotify for free. Seasons 1 and 2 on YouTube available in real time. Please like, subscribe and share, and check out Patreon. Peace.